quick, I want us to see two other quick videos, and that's this. Progressivism. We're saying, we need to be progressive. We need to be progressive. And, we've got a governor here, and he's done a lot the last 8 years that I've been here, and he's definitely been progressive. And he's committed to that. And my question is what is this progressivism that is so important and so committed to? Just watch this.
But we can get out there, reach out, make the case. And for one thing, don't ever shy away from our progressive values. One person's socialism is another person's neighborliness.
Okay.
Neighborliness.
All right. So our governor said, never back down from your progressiveness. What is the progressive things that he's talking about? Let's decode this for just a second.
Gender fluidity, globalism versus nationalism. We've got all kinds of different gender-neutral identities, education. It's all about moving past a Judeo-Christian worldview into something that's so much more progressive.
It's everything anti-God. Remember, if we went back to the World Economic Forum 2030 goals, one of them is the collapse of Western values. Progressivism, as he's describing it, and as he has practiced here these last 8 years, and that he wants no one to back down from, is the destruction of Western values. And let me tell you what that means. Western values are summarized in the Ten Commandments.
Yep.
And so that's what we're seeing.
30,000 Minnesotans have fled. They couldn't take it, and many more are planning on fleeing this state because it has become, because of this man, intolerable.
Yeah.
Because of the policies that you outlined.
Absolutely.
I mean, we can sit here and talk about it, and those of you watching online or in other states and around the world, if you want to, we can tell you about it, but if you want to experience it, come to Minnesota.
Yeah.
And you will see the demonic policies that they put in place. And they are purely, we have friends in the legislature. There was nothing they could do to stop this. Abortion up to the 9th month and after birth. I mean, it is just demonic with it. Who would have thought that not only would we allow children to change their gender, but teach them that it's perfectly okay, perfectly normal if they want to do that. We're going to help you do that as educators. And if the parents want to step in, no. We'll take the child from you and put them in protective custody. Critical theories that pit children against each other based on race. Comprehensive sex education, which is nothing more than hardcore pornography. That's what we're teaching our children. They can't read or write when they graduate, but we're teaching them these social justice concepts.
Well, and who else taught the youth? Who else tried to manipulate and change the youth's understanding and ideology? It's not only what we've seen in the past, but it's also what we hear the World Economic Forum saying in the future. We need to re-educate. We need to be more progressive. We need to know how to interact.
Be more progressive, destroy society, more lawlessness. That's what we need. In fact, the mayor here in our city, and this is really important for all of you in the rest of the country, because Mayor Fry is probably going to have a greater role in U.S. policy in the days ahead. And he's talking about violence and how it's been a couple of difficult weeks here, but he's got a solution. He's got liberal mindset solution to fixing the problem of violence. Listen to this.
These last couple weeks were bad. And so we've been trying a number of different tactics. One of them that I literally just heard on my way over here was a great tool to de-escalate is bubbles, literally bubbles. And I haven't seen this yet, and so I was going to get a video of how they do it tonight, but apparently if you got a whole bunch of people that are looking to cause trouble, if you put bubbles out there, it's really hard to look tough when you got bubbles floating around.
We're talking about like a kid's birthday party bubble machine.
But you're thinking I'm joking. I'm actually not. It's a bubble machine. And the people that are looking to cause trouble decide, I can't look tough and be around these bubbles. And so they disperse, it de-escalates the situation, and the people that aren't looking to cause trouble love bubbles.
Well, I'm ready to do it here, guys.
I feel so calm.
Listen, our church is so concerned about the violence here. We are willing to get every police officer their own bubble gun. And Ken, He's serious is the problem, guy. I mean, this is like, it's like so insane.
He's serious, that's
You
exactly right.
You can't even make this insanity up, right? Ken, 30 years in law enforcement. Is a bubble gun going to work?
Well, in his defense, he wants to deploy a large bubble machine to spread out throughout. So if you're listening to the news, in Minneapolis, he was right about one thing. We've had a couple rough weeks. Almost every weekend there's a shooting in downtown Minneapolis. And if you listen to the news, groups of people have gathered together, and there's a confrontation and some people got shot. Well, that's not what's happening. Hardcore criminal gang members are showing up there. That's what's going on, and not just in Minneapolis, every major city.
Yep.
And they don't care because the police are everywhere. And if they get into a confrontation, guess what? They're going to start shooting at each other. The police are within sight. They don't care. And if the police confront them while they're shooting, guess what? They're going to assault or shoot right back at the police. So I'm very confident that deploying a large bubble machine down there will not solve this problem.
No.
I'm very confident of that.
Jan, you want to say anything?
Well, we have millions of people now rushing to immigrate to Minnesota, I can tell.
Well, you know, I was so intrigued by that. I bought my bubble gun, and you know, I'm thinking we could deploy it against this, you know, with the Chinese. I think we could use it against the Russians. I think we could, you know, get it to the Ukrainians. Don't you think?
Yeah, for sure.
This is insane. Well, listen, there was violence that filled the earth, and God sent the flood.
Yep.
Because there was no regard for human life. He instituted human government, and he empowered human government to exercise capital punishment against murderers. And if you look through the Bible, capital punishment was employed for murder and a few other heinous crimes. Why? Because in order to have a civil society, someone has to do that. Bubbles don't work. And they won't work, but this is the deal. There's only two kingdoms, right? There's God's kingdoms.
Don't you feel so
Careful where you point your bubble gun. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I think it goes to the mindset, though. It really goes to the mindset of, and like Mark said, they're serious about this.
Yeah.
They consider these serious
That's right.
solutions to a serious problem. Instead of doing what really works, and that's when we arrest them and put them in jail, we keep them in jail until they go to court, and when they're charged and convicted, then we keep them in prison where they belong. How about that?
Well, what it's describing, though, is the collapse of society.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, we're raising a generation of people that don't respect authority.
Yep.
When you don't respect God and you don't respect authority, you don't respect others, you don't respect other people's property. What do you have? A bunch of thieves, a bunch of murderers, a bunch of rapists. You end up having a bunch of people that act like, well, we saw it with Hamas.
Yep.
And you see it right in our own country. This is the destruction of a society. And these are the great progressive ideas that are being taught to our children, to our grandchildren. And sadly enough, drive around this city, drive around other cities, and you'll see churches and their flying flags
That's
of
right.
rebellion that embrace this whole new progressive idea. And these are the outcomes.
Yeah.
And bubbles are not going to fix it.
And it's what happens when you have an inverted worldview. When you think that the human heart is inherently good, then this is, oh, well, we can deploy bubbles and everyone's going to be happy because it's going to make you smile and it's going to de-escalate. But when you have a correct worldview that we are sinful and evil, and that there is judgment that will come on that, and there is wrath that will eventually be poured out by God and justly, then it's the inverse of what the scriptures say. That's the moving away from a Judeo-Christian worldview. Western values gone.
Right. Well, if God says up, the world says down.
Yes.
If God says down, the world says up. It's the exact opposite. Right?